Uh, good afternoon, everybody who is present on the webinar. And it's my great joy to welcome our dear Martina Ziska from Prague, from Czech Republic. And she's a medical doctor and in the field of neurology, but also for 25 years, she studied and practiced and were teaching in the field of Ayurveda, and she is an Ayurvedic doctor. She were working with the most famous Ayurvedic doctors and get abundance of knowledge and experience in that field. And also she studied the other fields of Vedic science as Jyotish and Vedic philosophy and Sanskrit and Vedic chanting also for the 25 years. And she offers consultations and teaching Ayurveda and Vedic mantra chanting and shares her experience with the goal to inspire to deeper understanding of life through writing also. And her focus is on mind, heart, and the soul. The inner workings of humans as understood through the brilliant lens of Vedic knowledge. Although Martina currently resides in Prague, in Czech Republic, she spends at least half of the year wandering the world on purpose. So she's a traveling yogi, we can say. And her specialty is the Sukshma Ayurveda, which is a very ancient and original aspect of the teaching and the practice of Ayurveda, which takes the wholeness of Ayurveda, the dealing with the body, with the mind, and with the soul, the whole field of life. And so we are very happy that she is this afternoon with us. And I would like to ask our dear Mr. Manohar Lal. He is the second Secretary of Culture and the head of Chancery of the Embassy of India in Croatia, that on behalf of His Excellency Rajkumar Srivastava, the Ambassador of India in Croatia, greet you and welcome you for this occasion. So please, Mr. Manohar Ji, if you can say some words of welcome. Yes, you need to unmute yourself. Just
Now you can hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, good. Sorry, I was, welcome everybody. Sorry, I was busy doing something else. So I forgot and I am few minutes late. Sorry. And I welcome respected Jadranko ji and I forgot name. Sorry, lady Ayurveda. Sorry?
Martina Ziska, Ayurvedic doctor.
Namaste, respected Martina ji. You are from Czech Republic, I saw, and you are promoting our Indian wisdom, Ayurveda. We are thankful to you, and we are thankful to hundreds of people, thousands of people who are promoting our ancient Indian wisdom, Ayurveda, to worldwide. So Jadranko ji is doing excellent job. We are fortunate that we came to Croatia and get in touch with Jadranko ji. He is a Baba Ramdev of Europe. Yeah. Yes.
Some controversies there, but other than that.
So he knows Ayurveda also, yoga also. He is a sportsman and martial art, many things he knows. So we are fortunate that we have Jadranko ji. So I welcome you all. So please, you can start, Martina ji. You are, please share your knowledge, wisdom with us. Thank you. Welcome to all. Welcome other participants also. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I would start traditionally with an invocation for the Guru Shiksha Parampara Sampramada tradition. You can just listen. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you everyone for being here. I don't know in your country, but here right now it's incredibly sunny, beautiful day. So I know you had choices to be outside on the sun. But we are together and I appreciate that. And I have an incredible, I would say, privilege to share with you my views on a topic that's incredibly close to my heart, which I consider important for all of us, but also really difficult to talk about because it involves big concepts, words like soul, heart, consciousness, mind. And each of them represent an entire world of its own. So I want to approach this with tremendous humility and ask for whatever we share, that it's just, the intention is in the spirit of understanding. Try to listen not with your intellectual mind. This is the difficulty of these concepts because they cannot be understood intellectually, but try to listen with your inner ears or inner perception, and let's see what's going to happen. So Sukshma Ayurveda, Sukshma is a word, a Sanskrit word that I am sure you must be familiar with or you have heard. If not, what it usually translates is into subtle or invisible. So that's something that's there, present, but cannot be really perceived, cannot be touched. It's non-material. I thought it would be interesting to look up the reference book, the Monier-Williams dictionary, what it says about this word. The origin is not exactly known. It might relate to word shuchi, which means something like minute, which means tiny, very small, fine, but also keen when it comes to the mind, atomic, intangible, subtle, all-pervading spirit or supreme soul, which is really incredible. But if you are familiar with the Sankhya philosophy, that gives background to the framework of thinking in Ayurveda, it's not going to surprise you. So what we can agree on that Sukshma is speaking of something that's intangible physically, but can be perceived, is perceivable. And we know that it can be perceived via senses, but the senses that are connected to buddhi, which is the part, the extension of the consciousness. Jnana, we might say, that leads to vijnana, again, if you are familiar with these words. And of course, when we say consciousness, knowledge, there is always in this view, not only what it automatically means is that with a form of thought, there's always connected a form of feeling, which is the perception. So I just want to point that out because in our Western understanding, we have the tendency, and we even have academic models that separate these two. I believe this aspect has always been inherent in Ayurveda. I actually believe that this is the aspect that makes the Vedic medicine to be what it is. Somehow, and that's another discussion or story, this aspect has got either lost or really suppressed into the background. But as I have talked with some Vaidyas across India, they agree that this has always been inherent in the Ayurvedic approach or in the discipline of Ayurveda itself, but not as a vidya, something to know and understand and to learn, but we might say as a shastra, as a skill, something to know how to do. So we might say that Ayurveda is a medicine of consciousness, and as such, it is a system that is based on restoring what is natural. And what is natural is expressed or guided by, in the word of Retta, you might know the Ratucharya, which is one of expression of the natural laws under which everything exists, cosmic laws. And the seasons for us, for example, are one of the expressions. Here, what's really important is that there is not a clear separation and delineation between what is physical and what is non-physical in terms of a human body, which would be the same for the diseases. So there is always both aspects connected. And the question is, in the manifestation, which way is more prominent, or which way the manifestation, in which direction it's going. But as we know that the body is a crystallization or manifestation of consciousness, and that the energy is really flowing from the non-physical to the physical, which means from the subtle to the more gross, we know that every manifestation of the physical has behind the non-physical, and therefore also in the medicine, in the human body, every physical manifestation of imbalance or disease or problem has a counterpart in the non-physical. It was even Charaka who, in one of the shlokas, said that Ayurvedic doctor has no other duty but to touch the soul of the patient. This is paraphrase, of course. This is not the actual shloka. But to us, it makes sense. And this is what the Sukshma Ayurveda, which could be, if you wish to translate it into some Western understanding, but it's really very far from it. You would call it something like Ayurvedic psychotherapy, but it's really much more than that. So let me give you a framework how I approach, since this is lost. So I have created my own framework, pulled together various parts, and it's a system that's in progress. Of course, I use it and adjust it as it develops with each person. But it's just something to set a stage for us how this theoretical aspect, that is the basis of the system, could be used or is used on a practical level. So we have some sort of idea. How do we get, what does it mean to touch the soul on a practical level? How do we even go about it? The heart, the mind. We have ideas, but I want to speak about it in a very practical and specific and concrete terms. So if you like, Sankhya is all about counting the enumeration of how the universe was created. So I used the counting system, and I just used the first 7 numbers, the first eka. And for that, what I mean is the unity. If we go in the Sankhya philosophy, we would look at here Purusha as the pure consciousness, one consciousness. So what it means on a practical level is, for a particular person, where are they in their life in relationship to this one authority, the highest authority, on a practical level, not the ideas, not what they like in philosophy, not what their imagination is, but the actual relationship with the highest authority or with the divine, what it is, what role it plays in their life, and what form it takes on a very practical level. Then we go to the 2, Dva, which is duality. For me, there's many ways you can start looking at Purusha Prakriti, but on a very practical level, tangible level, it would be, for example, the masculine and feminine and sun and moon energy, the polarity of energies, and how they manifest in the physical body, and of course in the mind as well. And I think this is very clear, so I don't have to spend more time on that. On the 3, it's clearly in the system, and the system is based on this, Triguna. Triguna, we know 3 different types of energies that color everything in the creation, everything in the existence, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. There are many definitions and ways to look at them. One of my favorite, because I think it's the most instructive, let me say it this way, is a definition of Dr. Robert Svoboda, a very known Ayurvedic doctor and Vaidya, who says that the rajas is the tendency to act where action is not either required or desirable. So we call it hyperactivity, but here you have a little bit different view. Tamas is a tendency not to act where the action is required or desirable. And sattva, beautifully enough, is a perfect balance of these 2. And when there is a perfect balance through the samurchana, through the amalgamation, it creates a different quality. We might say very simply, it's when the action is necessary, desired, and appropriate, one acts. And when it's not desired, appropriate, and necessary, one does not act. So sattva is usually as a clarity, but this is very practical when I, as a doctor, speak to a patient. you can see from their reaction in which field of their life they have, or to what they have sattvic, to have rajasic and tamasic approach. We know, and I'm just pointing that out, but you all familiar with this, that unlike the doshas, which represent similar principles, but in the more dense physical manifestation, Vata Pitta Kapha or Vata Pitta Kapha, they, on the personal level, don't change, don't fluctuate that much. We know that the Deha Prakriti is something different than the inborn Prakriti, and that does not change regardless of how we live. Very fluctuating in time. You yourself might experience that one moment you feel peaceful, calm, happy, sattvic, all the sattvic features, and then something happens, and the next moment, the next 5 minutes, you might feel total despair or nothing positive, or overwhelmed by situation or by negativity, and then you do something, or something happens, and you find your way through it. So this is a very, very dynamic mechanism, and it shows that all of these energies have their place. So it's not a question whether to have one or not, or which one or how much. It's a question of how they function in our life, and how can we employ them by choice, which we would use the word consciously again. Then when we got to Chatur, we might, number 4, one of the concepts that's so beautifully in the Vedic system is the Chatur Ashramas, 4 phases of life, but there are also 4 pillars of our existence, the Artha, Dharma, Kama, and Moksha. So and the phases of life is the Brahmacharya, the Grahastasya, then the Vanaprashta, and then the Sannyasi. So one that's from childhood to youth, being prepared to function in the world, then becomes a householder, create something within family and within society. Then when the time to retire from the society comes an incredibly important and beautiful phase called Vanaprashta, which literally means wandering through the woods. It's not meant that you move to the woods and you wander there every day, although you can do that. But what it means is wandering through your inner space, because now the focus, after the menopause and after the andropause, now the focus had turned from the outside to the inner world. And that prepares us for leaving this world when the time comes, which is the sannyasi phase. I also use the 4, the number 4, as I like the cross, the equal, which really for me means dishas, the 4 different directions. If I would just use the parallel with the world side, so up would be north, that would be the relationship with whatever is non-physical, what is beyond me in different forms, which is to a degree similar as the Eka, as the unity, but does not have to be. The south would go to relationship with matter. So that is practical issues with body, with being in the physical world, with money, with all the practical matters that us as spirits in the physical body presents. And then going south and going east and west are the two polarities that we know influence us the most. And that is the power of attraction and the power of repulsion. So repulsions are usually easier to work with because they manifest as fears, and it's something we shun away from. We don't want to be close to because it gives us a bad feeling. The attractions, what gives us a good feeling or even gives us a bad feeling, but it pulls us in that direction, is much harder to work with. But these are important forces that influence our life, but most importantly, how we live comes from how we think, and how we think comes from our psyche. So those would be for Chatur, either ashramas or dishas, or there's much more view you can take, but I'm just giving you some work structure, something that on a practical level, not philosophical level, but on a practical level, I use and work with. Now, when we come to number 5, Pancha, so there are Pancha Indriyani, Pancha Bhutani, 5 elements, 5 senses and sensory organs, and we know they have relevancy to Karma Indriyani, the executive organs. So that's this system. When we come to 6 is Shabda Rasas, which is 6 emotions, the basic emotions. And when we come to 7, it's Sapta Chakras, so 7 chakras. And here they are being viewed for their, each of them represents a level of evolution, how we relate to life on a practical level. You all familiar with this, but just to show how that works on the individual level. So let's say we know all the threatening events going on around us in the world. They are not too far from us. Whether it is an invisible virus, or whether it is visible armies, or inflation, or economic consequences of the pandemic. The first chakra makes us to relate to life on the level of threatening our physical existence. So when we are going to be in that mode, in that level of consciousness, this is all we're going to be able to relate. And it would not matter if somebody would tell us, oh, that's okay, don't worry, that has been times like that in the history, you are protected, nothing is going to happen to you, or even I'm going to protect you. As long as we are on that level of consciousness, this is how we're going to be relating to reality. And you can see one conflict that's being handled right now from that level. And they of course relate to Saptadhatus on the physical level, but they have the Sukshma, the non-physical quality, I would say even more than any other aspect in the physical body. So I think for some sort of idea, that's enough. So what I do is, and I believe all Vaidyas or doctors who work this way, they do the same. We extract information from the patient. As they are talking, we're asking them questions, you know, the Tripariksha, the Prashna, Darshana, Sparshana. And it's not really mostly what the person says, but it's how they say it. what words they use, and we kind of extrapolate with our intuition. We use imagination and inspiration to see where is that place of wisdom, of their knowing. I view my role to be a mirror that reflects, but the mirror that offers a different view than they know. Because if they used their view, their know, they would be able to understand and solve the problem. And we know we have blind spots looking at ourselves, so we need someone else to give us a reflection. That's very helpful. And but in reality, there is nothing that I will tell them that they don't know yet. But very often they say, oh, I knew this already, but it's very deep somewhere hidden in me. And now by talking about it, it came up for the surface. But the whole idea is to help them to find their own true, unique understanding. See, this is the paradox, and this is the beauty of Ayurveda as a system on all Vedic systems, all spiritual systems, actually. We are all the same. So we can relate to all of them, and they all relate to us. Yet, each of us is very unique, so we relate to them differently. And when we go to a very deep level within the inner space of a person, beyond the manas, touching onto the buddhi, the vijnan, and where I might say chitta, the mind, turns into chit, the knowing, then what I have seen is, although it's a universal understanding and a universal relationship, the way we do it is very individual. I call it sva marga, own path. And it relates to the samskaras, the smrti, the vasanas, our personal history of our soul, our personal experiences, how we use them to bring us to understanding, to the Satchit Ananda, through the buddhi and jnana and vijnana. So in this system that I don't like to call psychotherapy, and I really don't even like to call it Sukshma Ayurveda, because it looks like it's some sort of subject or object of something, when it's not, but I don't have a word for it. So maybe someone will have a flash of inspiration. We can come up with some word. Universal medicine, medicine of consciousness, that's pretty good, but for majority of people, it's just something that sounds nice, but very abstract. So the methods we use here is, of course, yukti, which is the logical deduction, the logical thinking, which is all that we know from the other medicine. But here we also have two other ways, the sattva vajaya chikitsa, which is a very specific field in which the purpose is to increase the presence of sattva in a person's life. But the funny thing is that if you do it intentionally, if you approach it as, tell me what to do to get sattva and I will do it and get it in this way, it's a very rajasic approach, and it never works. So actually, the way it works is if you start living in a accordance with what's natural, and that brings us back to Rita, the natural laws, then as a byproduct, as a result, automatically you get sattva. If you approach it in a sattvic way, it's even better. But it's a little bit like catch-22. So if we're not in that mode, the more we move closer to the natural, the sattva is created rather than we intentionally are creating it. And then there is the third approach, Daiva via Pashraya Chikitsa, which is a field that's being currently in India within the modern Ayurvedic field and teachings trying to revive, which is working with people through their mystic and spiritual beliefs, actually in some understanding, because Ayurveda comes originally from a shamanic tradition, and shamanic tradition means that there were people who understood fully the invisible, nothing else. It's no gimmicks, no weird stuff. It was that their level of their understanding and openness of the mind and tune into what is was such that they understood something that was not understandable through simply just the senses, touching, hearing, looking, the outside senses. So what it actually traditionally means is working with bad spirits and curses and stuff like that. But for me, it is to restoring the wholeness of a person and bringing them on the way to understand, not only understand it intellectually, but in every cell, in every moment of their life, that we are consciousness, that we are part of this phenomenal universe, and that we are not physical machines, some chemical factories that are producing hormones and neurotransmitters and this and that, but that we are thinking, feeling, that we are thinking, feeling, fully perceiving physical beings, but we are really spirit in the matter. What is the most important part of my work? That together with the person, we search for that which touches in them on the truth, on their knowing, and that we use as the guide to guide them to what they need to do, how they need to go about it, and stuff like that. I know it might sound a little bit too abstract for you, but the work is very concrete, very specific, and it's about either why are they sick? What is the opportunity in the sickness? Why this particular sickness? How they can approach it? Any other difficult or unclear situations in life. Basically, it's all about bringing understanding, the true understanding, which I believe Ayurveda and all these Vedic sciences are about. So I hope I have not confused you, because these are really huge concepts, and it's not easy to relate to them because they sound maybe wonderful to people, but hard to imagine what they exactly are. I think I will stop here, and I will let you ask any questions, which I hope you have, and those will show me how much I confused you or how clear I was. So thank you for listening, and now you can ask anything you want.
Thank you very much. It was very beautiful presentation of the whole field of life and how the science of life, Ayurveda, is related to all aspects from the very source of life. And it's beautiful because all that Ayurveda is based on Sankhya. Yoga is based on Sankhya. So then we can have this as some reference point, the Sankhya, giving very clear picture of the structure of the life and the universe, from the unmanifest through the all levels of the manifestations. And then this for sure gives us some very reliable system based on Sankhya to approach to anything in life. So, and you gave beautiful explanation of that and applied in the method which you use to deal with the patients. And so we are inviting everybody who like to ask some questions, some practical in any sense, please.
Yeah, test it, test me, test what I just said. So throw some problem ahead and we'll see how we can approach it, anything.
Yes, you can open your microphone and camera also and then ask. Is this Tamara? You want to ask something?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Dr. Martina, I'm sorry, but I have just joined the meeting because I was at my work. But I know you from a long time ago in Amsterdam. You were teaching the pulse diagnosis in the course where I was. So, okay, so let me just ask one question. Maybe it's practical question from my practice. Well, how do you let's say from Sankhya philosophy, from your huge work with Ayurveda and neurology, how do you go about with distinguishing the ADHD, for example, at a later stage in human life, when someone has not been aware of anything and has gone through life, and at a later stage in life, things start becoming frightening because is it maybe the way that we deal with the mental disease or the society that is not willing to accept it? But how do you usually approach that?
That's a very pertinent but very big question. It's a huge question. So I will just touch on very few things. There are probably three ways I can answer this. One is that if you think of fear, anxiety, and all of that, then there are two types of these rasas, emotions. One is the instinctual that has its natural place, right? So if I am driving on a highway and right opposite me goes a very fast car, this is not time to pray. This is instinctually the time that your adrenals kick in and you get frightened. I mean, it's a natural instinctual approach, which is fine. This is built into our existence to protect us. So we don't need to deal with that. The problem that what we live like is we don't have these strong, once in a while, life-threatening situations. Mm-hmm. And I think it's Bruce Lipton who wrote it beautifully in A Biology of Faith. He as a doctor and molecular biologist, he studied this and he's seen that the way our organism we live is as if you were starting a running race, you were in a running blocks, and there would come a command, get ready, tension, and never would come that moment that says run. So we live in a lesser degree stress and tension that is protracted. And this is something historically we don't know. This is a new situation. Because in the past, it would be stronger, but shorter. And we knew how to deal with that. You either survived, you felt good, or you died. You felt good too after you died, but not on a physical level because you were not here anymore. But we have now that we live pretty comfortably, so we don't have this threat. And many people say, I don't know why I don't feel good. I have all the reasons to feel good, but there is this tension in me. So this is one. Second is, it relates Ayurvedically very nicely to the state of Vata. And Vata is talented to, when it is overworked or under more pressure, to go into anxiety and fear. It's its nature. Okay. So if you're going to have a person who is for a longer time living above their natural means, they will come to the nervous system debt, negative state of energy, and automatically they will have a tendency to be fearful. I am sure you know that situation yourself. If you leave home and if you balanced, if you're okay, you have no questions. If you are under stress or if your system is weakened, in your mind you have the question, did I close the window? Did I turn off? Did I lock properly? Yada, 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 all of that. And the third way I could look at it is, it's even from higher point of view, but it all relates to the same. And that is, if we don't live the right way, which means from the self, established in the self, which Bhagavad Gita, for example, speaks so beautifully about, we will always feel anxiety, because the anxiety is the opposite of Shanti, the peace. And the peace is saying, this is all right. This is the way it's supposed to be. It's okay. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful.
So it's a loaded, it's a huge question, because we live right now in the times where the dynamic insecure aspect is picking up very strongly. Just look the way we live, you know, the concept of gender, for example. When I was growing up, the concept of gender was clear. This is masculine, this is feminine. Now it's liquid. It's one security we have had for thousands of years. Time, energy, and energies, how much we pay for energy. Are we going to have heat? Are we going to be able to afford it? And food and all of these basic things. We are losing the securities as we were used to them. So what do you hold on? And anything that is weak in your system is gonna come and become even more vulnerable and visible. Pandemic, I think, has done a tremendous job in that. You know, we thought we knew how to take care of our health, protect ourselves. No, we are so confused. So how is it? How is it working? We don't know.
Yes, true.
It's phenomenal time now to be human, because we have unlimited possibilities. We have never been in that situation. But paradoxically, the most basic things come up for review. And if you're not firm on your legs, they just start to shake and the whole structure shakes. But I see it as an opportunity. It's not easy, but I see it as an opportunity. There's always opportunity, even in the worst place people are, to move to better place in the right direction. And that's all that matters. And I'm old enough really now to just appreciate any movement I consider progress. I say, if it's 1 millimeter a day, that's good enough. As long as we're not standing or we're not going in the opposite direction. Any progress is wonderful. That counts.
Thank you. That was
Thank
really
you.
Great explanation, and philosophical, spiritual, and also practical. So yeah. Thank you for
because
that.
it's all connected. It's not one or the other. It's all connected. Wonderful. Any more wonderful questions or any questions? Maya, go ahead.
Can you see me? Hello.
I can see your yellow hand, which is not your hand.
Yeah, but okay, you know, because I got some technical situation here.
That's okay. We can hear you. So
okay,
that's half.
That's good enough.
We'll go with that.
Okay, so first I would like to say that I'm really pleased to meet you, and that I'm really like impressed with the whole presentation. Because one of the reason is that I'm like chasing some Ayurvedic text nowadays, you know, like, and the book is not there. So, you know, like again, about being anxious, you know, and Željko sent me the link today and was like, it's going to be, you know, like Martina is going to talk about Ayurveda. Was like, man, you know, like it was just in time. So one of the reason is that I really enjoyed, because you, with your presentation, just filled one, I would say the whole, something that I was like looking for to add to my writing final exam. My topic is yoga and postpartum. And concretely, I'm writing there about that sacred window. So, I was, of course, exploring and, you know, like did a lot of different literature. Myself, I'm mother of a 21-month-old boy. And I had this, thank you very much. And I had this experience of never stopped practicing yoga or eating healthy. So I just had the wish to you know, put it on paper, so maybe somebody, you know, like will find it for help someday, because what I see is that mothers are struggling, that the sacred window is not as it should be, in fact, because after you give birth, you're automatically under stress. There is no such massages with oils or whatever. The mothers are feeling very exhausted, and they should, as you know, at least those 42 days being under vision and with surrounded by ayudulas there, with all this massage and preparing the food, which will feel full vata, if I'm not mistaken, that is there in this empty stomach after you give birth. So there is again, so empty space which need to regenerate, to activate Agni. So what I I enjoyed presentation, and I just got my, you know, like notes, wrote my notes down. But I wanted to ask you, what is your opinion on how long does this sacred window last, in fact? Because we know it's like 42 days until you got kind of back to normal. But my experience is that is much longer. And how can we at all define this period of sacred window lasting? Like, can it be 1 year or 2, or how can we define it?
Well, wow. Again, that's a whole world, different world you spoke about that not everyone relates to because it's not pertinent to them. It's a very special situation, and I'd like to think that we can have the sacred window for the rest of our life. The whole life is a sacred window. It's a window into the sacred, and the window is through the sacred. It's just a question of how you approach it. But of course, there are some special physiological issues involved. See, I like to think of a giving birth of a delivery. We just had Olympics, so I think of it as an Olympic event for the Vata system in the body. There's no, in certain aspects, there is no more Vata force being used then to deliver the baby. I think we could argue that this is the most. So this is the time of the test, and it shows any weakness in the system. And if the weakness did not show there, it will show after. Because everything just adds up. Everything just adds up. And that determines your sacred window. You were talking about how it is, and because it's after the Olympics, very fragile time, very special time. Then how it's traditionally handled in India, naturally, is that the mother, the new mother, gets only responsibilities that are necessary, and that is breastfeeding the baby. Nobody can do that for her.
Yeah.
Everything else is taken care of. By the way, she resides in her mother's home for 6 months, even separate to a degree from her husband, because the care of her mother and of the others is more important than to keep on for this period of time. For the baby, so it's being approached completely different. So the baby's nervous system can mature naturally and slowly. So it's exposed slowly to the hustle and bustle of the world. And so the mother can stay into this state and also slowly adapt to the new role and the new way of life for the rest of her life. Because once you become mother, you stay mother for the rest of your life. You have 21 months old. I have 27-year-old. Always in the back of my mind, what is she doing? Always, it will always stay with you. So enjoy 21 months, because we say small babies, small problems, big babies, big problems, by the way, it is a special time that the number of days have to do with the tissue poshana, nutrition, and how the tissues are regenerating. But it is different for different people. We don't have the same clock. Some people need more, some people need less. They have different needs. So I think it should be like everything else. It should be the most respect for the individual needs. And one should prepare for that, ideally. Because there always be situations for which you cannot be prepared, so you deal with that, which will be stressful. But there are other situations that you could foresee, and you should prepare for that. But the most important is take care of your Vata, the best care you can, for at least 5 years before you get pregnant. At least 5 years, because all of that will show in the situation after.
And if I'm myself Vata, what is happening then? Like the time?
You are more the target.
Yeah.
It's Vata on Vata. You are more susceptible to the weaknesses and imbalances that go inherent with that Vata principle automatically. you know. I'm sorry, there was another question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What I wonder about atopic dermatitis and eczema. Again, these are dear friends. These are, I mean, huge. It's like a world of its own. Skin diseases are very peculiar. Even Ayurveda looks at them very peculiar, because it's probably the only disease that manifests on the outside, but comes from the inside. And it's also one of the set of diseases that very strongly have the emotional aspect in them. Mental, related to it, but very strongly emotional aspect. Skin is our largest organ of the body. That says something, how important it is. It's also the first barrier that protects us within the immune system and creates the barrier between the outside world and us. So there are so many things going on with the skin diseases. They are hard to treat. We always say, you know, when I speak with other doctors about the experiences, how successful we are dealing with skin diseases, we always say that the skin has its own mind, and we are kind of at liberty of that mind. We do our job, but we never know what's going to happen. There's just, it's not the causal effect that I do this like in other. The easiest in that way is the digestive tract. It's the easiest. It's easy to get to. It's the first one. But the skin is so many things have to go through, plus the emotional aspects. And it doesn't work like I do A and it happens B. I do A and I really don't know what's going to happen. And I watch and see and learn and really intuit also in the way. So it's a very complex system of diseases. That's what I want to say. And cycles of better and worse, of course, they are currents of energies that are changing. And you know, a couple of years ago, one filmmaker who does spiritual movies, and is very spiritual himself, said a really lovely sentence. He said, the conscious is getting stronger and more prominent, but so does the unconscious. So we might say the light is getting more prominent. More people are turned onto the way of understanding and are bettering their lives with understanding, with true knowledge. But also this area that flourishes everything also helps to flourish the ignorance. It just goes that way. So there are fluctuations. And we live in Kali Yuga, in the Yuga of darkness. So not understanding is more prevalent rather than understanding in the whole world. What are your advices to reduce allergies? Well, number one, there are allergies respiratory, and there are allergies within the digestive tracts. The whole system of allergies goes with, I can say that the simplest way I can say it is strengthen your digestive Agni, Jatara Agni. Because not well-functioning Jatara Agni and complex of other things are going with on the path of developing allergies. So when we work with patients on a practical level, physically, the two things we need to take care of first We cannot go any further. There's no point of asking about the, you know, the soul and spirit and fixing that if this platform, if this basis is not there, and that is their Agni, Jatara Agni, their digestive strengths, because we're not digesting only food that's creating our tissues and therefore our body that we use for our life, but we're also digesting life. What happens, what we think, what we feel, what's going on around us, all of that. And the second, very closely relevant to that, is the status of your nervous system. And I want to say the nervous system here does not mean only Vata. The nervous system means the energy anatomy of the body. So we might say it's the Shrutansi or Nadis, it's the Chakrami, Chakras, and it's the Marmani, the Marma points, and all that connection. It's not only our ability to move the hand when I say move it or give it command or feel something, prick or pain or something. It's much more than that. It's how prana is organized in our body, in which shape it is and how it is used. So besides the normal anatomy, we have the energy anatomy, and that for me is equivalent to the nervous system. So here we come again through the physical back to the non-physical. And there is a comment, David Lynch is known to be lifelong, I guess, meditator, transcendental meditation, proponent of that, wrote books. So that brings us directly back to the aspect, just purely the aspect of mind and consciousness. Yeah. So I don't know how we are going on time. Jadranko, you the boss here, so you tell us.
It's so beautiful, your explanations and everything, so we forget about time.
So maybe one last question if someone has.
Yes.
One last, so then we can depart, so everyone has an ease of mind. Anyone? Well, if not, I thank you for your time. I don't see you, but I know, I feel that you are listening there and giving attention. So I hope you definitely brought me a lot to reflect on. So I really thank you for this opportunity to share my passion with you, with really this, as you can hear and as you know yourself, bottomless pit of incredible wisdom that's here for us to use and make our lives easier.
Yes, and thank you so much. And you gave a beautiful, actually, connection with all this ancient science of life and the Vedic science, all the disciplines of the Vedic science, as Ayurveda, Yoga, Sankhya, Jyotish, and Vyakaran, and Chandas, and all aspects. They are all interconnected. Yes. And what you said about the condition that today, the condition of life, we can say we are all in the state of chronic stress, because the stress can be acute, so temporarily, when we find ourselves in a danger in the moment and then it passes. But today, the way of life is that we are in a chronic stress condition, and also that there is possibility to be free from the stress only if you are Yogastha Kuru Karmani, if you are established in the state of yoga, or it means if you are, in the yogic terminology, going beyond ignorance and you realize your true self, or you remove avidya from your life, then you are demolishing the basis for abhinivesha to create this constant fight and flight reaction, because to save the life from the danger of being annihilated, or abhinivesha is fear, fear of death. Yeah. So And then when we realize our true self, we get more of permanency, more of stability on the psychical level of our life, and we are having less fear, and we are not so much frightened, even with these situations which are frightened to others. For us, they are not. So we will not react with the fight and flight. So we help our body and our mind and everything in that sense. So it was beautiful that you mentioned that aspect, that there is a difference of the way of life now and 2000 years back. I mean, today it's especially, we are all the time under the informations, interactions with all many things bringing fear, inducing fear for our life. So we need to be very careful. It's a challenge to live in this time. It's a great opportunity because we are having more informations and possibilities for our life to get more knowledge and search for higher and realize our true nature. But at the same time, it has that challenge. So we need to take recourse to the self through the help of yoga and Ayurveda, and then we are on a good way. So thank you very much.
We are on a good way. We are here, so we are on a good way. So
thank you very much, Martina.
Thank you.
And so we hope to see you again sometime. And
up to you.
To organize, you come sometime to Croatia, and then we can have some more time.
Then we demolish all the avidya, together.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. So,
you be well, everyone. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being present. And then we see each other on the next webinar. You will be informed. Thank you so much, everybody.